Good afternoon, thanks for coming. This is a community roundtable, energy community roundtable, sponsored by the Climate Economy Action Center of Addison County. And we're pleased that you're here. We have a great lineup for you and lots to listen to and work through, so I'm going to get right to it and just give a brief introduction. My name is Steve Meyer. I'm on the board of SEAC, and before I get into the agenda or do anything else, like forget or anything like that, I wanted to just take a moment and thank my partner here to my right, Spence, for his, Spence Putnam is one of the founding members of SEAC, and this is his last official event for SEAC, and has announced that he's rotating off our board as of this month. So I just wanted to take a second and thank him for all his time and effort and his role in the success in helping to get this work going at the local level. So if you join me for a little round of applause. Okay, as federal climate action stalls, local and regional efforts have never been more critical in addressing the climate crisis and helping households reduce energy costs. This event will convene leaders from 14 groups. There will eventually be 7 up here, and then we'll take a break and do 7 more. The roundtable will feature, I'm not going to read that. Okay. Thank you. In inviting these speakers, we asked them 4 questions, which they'll probably have to pick and choose from because we're asking them to confine their remarks to 5 minutes. But just to give you an idea, we suggested they should give us an overview of their organization, what's their biggest challenge, and some of their biggest achievements related to doing climate and energy work, and in particular with a focus on low and moderate income families and individuals. And then how can the rest of us here help them, perhaps, in doing their work better? So those were the 3 or 4 things we asked them to focus on. And that's all. I'm going to hand it over to Spence here in just a second, other than to say we will end promptly at 6:30. There's another event coming in here at 7, and we need to clean up and give space for them. Bathrooms out this way to the left. There are more downstairs if you need them. Any logistical questions? Before I step aside. Thanks again for coming.
Thank you, Steve, and thanks for those kind words. I guess I'm going to sign off from SEAC with a flourish, so thank you for showing up to provide that endpoint for my service on the board. I'm not disappearing, however. I'm one of several SEAC members who are getting trained to be energy navigators, and there's more information on the Energy Navigators project over here in the corner, and Shannon is one of the speakers in the second half. So all of the speakers have been warned that they're on a strict time limit. They get 5 minutes minus whatever time I spend introducing them. And for that reason, I've run roughshod over their introductions, and I've reduced them to about 25 words. But because I want to make as much space as I can for them to do their presentations. So they're going to do their presentations one after the other. We will not take questions during that. We're going to try to get through this on schedule so that we have time at the very end for discussion and any questions you might have. So I think that's what I have to say. So we're going to start with Addison.
Start with me.
What?
Start with me.
Oh, I'm going to start with Richard. But you have 5 seconds.
On the screen, am I on? Yes, on the screen is The overall results of the greenhouse gas survey or greenhouse gas inventory for Addison County in 3 different time periods, 2017, 2020, and 2022. This is the best overall measure of progress or lack of progress. In 2020, we emitted a little less, probably because of the pandemic. Came right back in 2022, drove our cars, heated our houses in the same way that we had before. So in spite of all the good effort that we've all done, all the people on this panel and other people, so far we're not obviously impacting our total greenhouse gas emissions.
All right, despite our best efforts. But we need to redouble those efforts in this day and age. So we're going to start over here on my right, your left, with Lise Schambecker from the Addison Housing Works. She's executive director, a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing safe, affordable housing for low and moderate income residents. AHW owns and manages over 750 permanently affordable homes, including apartments, single-family homes, and manufactured housing communities. Elise?
Thanks, Vince. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me. So a little bit about Addison Housing Works. We were founded in 1989 as Addison County Community Trust, and then we changed our name to Addison Housing Works in 2023 to better reflect our focus on housing. We do low-income and moderate-income housing, some affordable rental housing, and also homeownership programs. Some of our achievements, I think, was the second question. So when we develop new housing in Addison County, we develop it in designated downtowns or village centers, so compact, dense development that's walkable, reduces commutes and so forth. And then our construction itself meets Vermont stretch code, often exceeds Vermont stretch code. The building on the screen there is Virgin's Community Apartments, which opened in 2020, was designed by Vermont Integrated Architecture, particular Jean, who I saw. Is Jean here? Hi, Jean. And this was, at the time, the tightest residential multifamily building, we think, in New England. It met passive house standards for air sealing. So we're building to very high energy standards in smart growth patterns to reduce energy use. We also have a number of manufactured housing communities, and we work with our residents through our resident support program to help them upgrade their manufactured homes to make them more affordable. The $454,000 in weatherization and repair funds that we helped residents access, that's actually just for 2024. So we're really trying to invest a lot in the quality of our manufactured housing stock. And then we're doing some climate resilience work as well, most recently with the Lewis Creek Association and Addison County Regional Planning up in Starchboro at the Hollow Brook to protect that community and make the creek more flood resilient. Yeah, challenges. So some challenges that we have are the cost of construction. It's incredibly expensive to build these very high performing buildings, expensive to build any buildings these days. It can be difficult to pull all that funding together. I mentioned our manufactured housing communities, very old housing stock, so it can be hard to upgrade those homes to be more energy efficient. The climate resiliency side, we're seeing more flooding, like we did in Starchboro last summer. And it's very hard for our residents to access a lot of the programs that are out there. So that's one of the reasons we founded our resident services program in 2021 to help connect our low-income residents with those resources. And then lastly, things we can do together. So manufactured housing has come a long way since what you see in most manufactured housing communities currently. You can now get zero energy ready homes for between $100,000 and $150,000, which compares to $500,000 to build a condo or an apartment. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there, but we need our communities to be more welcoming, both in terms of zoning and planning, and just generally for new manufactured housing communities. And yeah, if you have, if you're involved in initiatives that you want to, spread the word among low and moderate income residents of affordable housing, we now have a resident services team that you can connect with, and we can help share that information.
Great, thank you. So next we're going to hear from Melanie Paskovich from Cornerstone Housing Partners, formerly NeighborWorks. She's the Chief Program Officer, and she's managed the Heat Squad program since it began in 2010. She and her Heat Squad team have helped over 6,500 Vermonters with energy audits, and almost 3,000 households have a warmer, safer, healthier, more efficient home, saving annually on average almost $1,000 per household. Melanie?
Thank you. I didn't recognize our name. Sorry, Spencer, that's why I didn't come up. Yeah, we just went through a big merger. So yes, we were NeighborWorks Western Vermont. We're now Cornerstone Housing Partners, which is exciting. Our core service area is Addison, Rutland, and Bennington County, but we have a lot of programs that are statewide. And we're a nonprofit homeownership center. We do homebuyer education, counseling, foreclosure intervention. We help people to get ready to buy a home. We also have a lending arm. We do down payment assistance, energy loans, home repair grants, and I run all of them. And then there's a home repair program, and then I have a rental repair program. We offer the VHIP program. And then we have our Heat Squad, which is, I'm really excited. I started it in 2010. And like Spencer said, we've done thousands of audits, thousands of projects, a lot more we need to do. Currently, we are in the Northeast Kingdom, Addison, Rutland, Bennington, and Windsor County, servicing those areas. So we start with a low-cost energy audit. It's scaled based on income, and then we help customers through every step. You guys talked about navigation. That's what we do, right? We navigate the customers from that audit. We do the audit, we give them the audit report, and then we help to figure out how can we help you with your needs, but also, save energy and save the environment, but really to save energy, and how can we help these households, right? And we address health and safety issues, we have home repair issues, and obviously weatherization. And so then we don't do the work, but we have great contractors that we work with, and we work very closely, I know Dwight's over there, we work very closely with the weatherization agencies, making sure to send them that way, because that's free work. I tend to say that Heat Squad starts where the weatherization agencies stop, income-wise, is where we start, but we can help all incomes. Our nugget group, so 60% of our customers are moderate income. So they're up to 120% AMI. That's just the group that we've been able to really help by the navigation, right? We're helping them through that whole system of, okay, let's figure out, let's get a low-cost energy audit. Could be $50, could be $75. Let's help you to figure out how to prioritize your work. Do you want to do some yourself? We can help you with that. Let's help you get contractors. Let's help you to oversee the work. Oh, do you need lending? We have 2 lending products. We're one of the Efficiency Vermont home energy loan lenders who can offer that, and so we have 2 statewide energy loan options. You can do renewables with our loan, you can do heat pumps, you can do obviously little home repairs, but obviously weatherization, heat pump technology. So we offer, to help prioritize, we help customers to get contractors, we help to get financing, and then we do 100% quality review of the work. We're gonna come out and make sure everything looks good, and then we submit for rebates for Efficiency Vermont, so through the whole system. Challenges, I just need more people to do this work. I need contractors, number one, but also I need more people to get engaged with this. I think people still think it's hard, people don't know where to start. So I think how we can collaborate is, let's do messaging together. Let's make sure people understand, go to the weatherization agencies when you're up to this income. There's these groups. It takes all of us together to do this work, but I think just getting that messaging out that there is all of these groups that does this great work, and how we can further work together and do more. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Melanie. HomeShare Vermont. Rick Sengari became HomeShare Vermont's communications specialist in 2022 after spending the previous 2 years as the host of Vermont Viewpoint on WDEV. Prior to that, Rick was a producer for Vermont Edition at Vermont Public Radio and a morning show host on The Point, WNCS in Montpelier. Rick?
All right, what is this? No. Bad joke. Right. So, Home Share Vermont, our mission is to improve lives and communities by bringing Vermonters together to share their homes. And we do this by creating what we call compatible match. And that's between a host who's looking to share their home for rent and or help, and our guests who are seeking an affordable place to live. So we have been doing this for 43 years in Vermont, started in Burlington, expanded to all of Chittenden County, eventually to Addison County 20 years ago, all of northwestern Vermont, and then right before the pandemic, added central Vermont, Lamoille, Washington, and Orange County. There had been a program there that had gone under that the state asked us to help with. And then about a year and a half ago, expanded into Windsor County, a few towns in the NEK, and a few towns in Rutland County. And we're hoping that with additional state funding, we can help everyone in the state. The biggest challenges that we face in serving and reaching low and moderate income households, first of all, on the host side, convincing people that seeking a home share guest is not a failure on their part. It's an opportunity to stay in their homes till as long as they possibly can. They can help someone else in the community. On the guest side, our challenge is the length of time that's required to make a match. We conduct background and reference checks. We interview the applicant, then we try to find a compatible match for that person. We set up introductions, we do a 2-week trial, which would be next. Someone moves in lightly with a suitcase rather than a U-Haul, see how it goes, and then the match begins. And so it's methodical, it's purposeful, it's slow. And so that can be difficult for those seeking more immediate housing solutions. We hope that we keep people out of emergency housing up front by providing a very affordable option for them. So I don't want to bore you with numbers, but our hosts, for instance, receive over $350,000 in rental income. They save over $500,000 in the help they receive from their guests each year. The guests pay an average rent right now of $360 a month. $360, that's about 1/4 the average 1-bedroom apartment right now in Vermont. And that's not first, last, and security up front. That's their rent up front. The maximum someone can charge for our program is $650. Amazingly, 25% of our hosts charge nothing. They just want help. Our case managers are available to assist hosts and guests for the length of the match. The agreement, in effect, is month to month because either can end a match agreement with a 30-day notice. Usually they last about 1 to 5 years. The average right now is 2 years. And we do have one that's going on 14 years and one that's going on 19 years, which is pretty amazing. So as far as our achievements are related to any climate efforts, think about that we have now the most matches we've ever had in our existence. We have over 90 matches, so that's 90 guests who might be living separately in a separate unit. Now they're in the same home sharing energy with someone else, with the host. And then that's 90 units that didn't have to be built. So the energy, the resources that would have been used to house those 90 individuals, 90 plus, they are saved. The energy is saved there. So how can organizations and individuals assist us in coordinating our efforts? First of all, please share the information with anyone who you know who could be a host or guest. If it's not you, I hope that someday you hear someone talking and say, do you know about home sharing? And we can see if it's right for them. Also, the opportunity to speak to your organization about home sharing. I'd love to do it. As a matter of fact, in this fiscal year, we're closing in on almost 100 presentations. That's one every 2.5 business days. We are somewhere talking about home sharing, letting people know what we do. And that is faith organizations, civic clubs, senior centers, social workers. Anyone who will listen to my voice, I will talk to them anywhere, anytime, any amount of people. So thank you very much for allowing me this time.
Well, your voice is familiar to many of us. So, are you Kate?
Yes.
That's a good thing then. I'm not an imposter. So, Kate Longfield joined the Champlain Valley Farmer Coalition as the Water Quality Program Manager in September of 2022. She provides technical assistance to Vermont dairy, livestock, and crop farmers to support their enrollment in government conservation programs and their sustained implementation of in-field conservation practices. Kate plans and facilitates educational workshops and roundtable events on a range of agronomic and agricultural policy topics. Kate?
Cool. Thanks, Spence. Ooh, this is loud. So again, my name is Kate. I am the Water Quality Program Manager for the Champlain Valley Farmer Coalition. We are based in North Ferrisburgh, Vermont. Our organization, so it's a nonprofit, was created about 10 years ago when the required agricultural practices came out, and it's basically a formalized knowledge sharing network for farmers in Addison County and kind of across the whole Champlain Valley. It has many purposes, but we provide technical assistance and host educational events in collaboration with UVM Extension and conservation districts and other state and federal agencies. We try to be as inclusive and welcoming to farmers and community members as possible. Membership for farmers is free. Membership for individual community members is free. If you're curious about what we do, we send out, we don't spam your email, but we do send out a monthly newsletter with education events that are upcoming and different opportunities to get together for field demos or farmer roundtables and different technical assistance that's available. All of our education events are free and we provide lunch, and so we try to just make it as open and really kind of share it as widespread as possible. We also have we are sort of expanding to different areas. We now have an internship program for high school students in Addison County, in a bunch of different Addison County high schools, to get students on farms and building that relationship with the farmer and learning what it means to farm in Vermont, and a whole range of farms. There's like apiaries and goat farms and produce farms, dairies. And so trying to just build our future workforce, and those internships are paid for students. I think some of our biggest challenges, again, it's staffing. Like just, what if we have more staff and more funding, we'd be able to sort of expand our work. We gained a staff, and now we have this whole internship program for students, and multiple of these high school students now have jobs, part-time and full-time, on these farms. And so we're getting high school students to get back into farming. And so that just, that happened because we gained a staff. So I think just, thinking about, so staffing challenges, I think, are one of our biggest challenges. And then just thinking about funding over the next few years and what that's going to sort of look like. And how other organizations can support our efforts is just, sharing our information with your members. And everyone, I feel like in this county, is connected somehow to a farm, and so just sharing our information, join our newsletter, come out to field events, connect with farmers, and so the mission of the organization is water quality and soil health. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. I can even read our mission, which is to assist all farms in implementing innovative agricultural practices that enhance water quality, soil health, climate-smart farming while building their economic resilience. So that is like the real big focus of our work, and we are always wanting to collaborate with different organizations and think about how we can think about climate resilience and new practices and new infrastructure. I know the Minor Institute in New York is doing a lot of innovative research and Cornell and UVM Extension, and so we would love to just keep collaborating. Okay. All right. That's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. Yeah. I'll let you get ahead.
You can pass it.
There you go.
All right. Thanks, Kate. So Lindsay Burke is next from ACORN. Lindsay sees food sovereignty as an important pathway towards liberation for all peoples. Lindsay joined ACORN in 2015 and has served as its executive director since 2021.
Thank you, Spence. I'm just going to preface this with I'm fighting severe jet lag, so if this is a bit rambly and incoherent, I'm really sorry, but I'm not firing on all cylinders at the moment. So ACORN stands for the Addison County Relocalization Network. I recognize most faces in this room, but in the off chance you don't know what ACORN does, we're not the ACORN Energy Co-op. We are the Food Network. Our mission is to strengthen the local food and farming community or economy, depending on who I'm talking to, in the Champlain Valley. We do that through many programs, including the ACORN Food Hub, the Tour de Farms, the Food and Farm Guide. This is last year's copy. There's a stack of them in the back. We'll be releasing this year's in May. That connects folks with the over 250 small food producers in the Champlain Valley. We have a Farmer Climate Network, and we have the Pharmacy Food as Medicine program. So why am I here? We're not directly energy related, but farmers are critical for building resilience, and they receive less than 3% of public climate finance for food systems transformation. And what we saw this earlier today with Richard's graph is that agriculture and food systems account for 1/3 of global emissions, which tracks in Addison County, and you can see the numbers are still rising. I'm not going to read all of these quotes or stats that I have about connecting farming to climate. Trust me, it's related. It's why I'm in food. The climate crisis is why I'm in food. The intersection of human rights and environmental rights and land rights, it's all very connected. But I'm here specifically to talk about our pharmacy program, which provides CSA shares, community-supported agriculture, to 100 families with local food that we purchase from 3 local organic farms, which supports farm viability and food security and lessens food miles and carbon emissions. We started the program in 2019, and we continue to grow it every year. Folks are referred by their healthcare providers. They're screened either for food insecurity and or diet-related illness. And we also get referrals from school nurses, food shelves, and word of mouth, because we know not everyone goes to a doctor. In the photos, you're going to see an evolution of the infrastructure spaces that we have had over the last 7 years. We started out in the parking lot of the Port of Pediatrics on Exchange Street, then we moved to Hannaford Career Center's North Campus parking lot, and then we finally were able to go to the Food Hub, which provided much needed physical space with cold storage and bathrooms and space away, like not on pavement on a 90 degrees July day. So the biggest challenge at the beginning was lack of infrastructure, and now it's funding, no surprise, especially with the current administration. The grants keep on getting cut. So our greatest achievements related to climate efforts is getting about $60,000 in local food to 100 households every year, and we're now going into our 7th year. We minimize food miles, we increase farm viability for farms that work with best ecological practices, which, as Kate was saying, is really important for the water, the soil, our insects, our pollinators. We know it's all connected. And how can other organizations and individuals assist us? Well, with 2 of our local food federal grants recently terminated, funding is a great way to support local food access. You can also volunteer for pharmacy, you can help us deliver to people's homes, and you can continue to support your local farms and businesses as much as possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay. If you hadn't told us that you had jet lag, we wouldn't have noticed.
I can do even better.
And we're going to Tri-Valley Transit next. Mary Claire Crowan serves as a community relations manager at Tri-Valley Transit in central Vermont, overseeing marketing, fundraising, public relations, and program development. During her tenure, she has raised capital to build 2 award-winning green transit facilities, increased ridership and route frequency, and piloted a microtransit service in Middlebury. Mary Claire?
Thank you, Spence. So our mission is to provide public transportation for everyone. That includes all ages, all socioeconomic backgrounds. Our services are all safe, reliable, ADA accessible, and affordable. And thanks to this, we're enhancing the economic, social, and environmental health of the region. And our 3 modes of transportation, are you able to advance 2 slides, please?
I don't have any slides for you.
You don't have any slides?
I'm sorry.
Okay. That's no problem. Well, I have slides printed out that you can look at if you'd like to see more detail on which towns our service area encompasses. We have 50 towns throughout the central belt of Vermont that receive Dial-A-Ride, which are door-to-door rides primarily with volunteer drivers. Mostly they are free, and these programs bring people to medical appointments, methadone treatment, kidney dialysis, food shopping, adult daycare. It's really helping people, on their road to recovery, and helping seniors age at home with dignity, and improving community health outcomes. Our bus routes in Addison County and beyond include local circulators and commuter expresses. And over the course of a year, we provide about 282,000, I think that was our number this year, right, Bill? Rides. And those commuter rides are helping people avoid hundreds of tons of carbon by choosing the bus instead of driving alone. We poll our bus riders every year, and more than half of them self-identify as living at or below the poverty level. So access to transportation is helping them take care of daily necessities and get job training, get and keep a job. And then our 3rd mode, which Spence referenced earlier, is a hybrid of those 2 systems, which is microtransit, which is kind of a big buzzword in America right now. These are rides by reservation. Instead of using the cutaway buses that you're most used to seeing and associate with us, we have 2 little nimble vans that can get right into people's driveways. We're providing door-to-door rides for free to people in Middlebury. Formerly, we had 4 little neighborhood routes that operated in a small cluster, and access was limited. And now with these rides by reservation, we're able to go all the way north to like Sugar House Motel on Route 7, as far south as Foot Street, right below where the Middlebury Studio School is. And then it's kind of shaped like a kidney. You can check out my slides later. So I flipped the script. I did achievements first. We're proud that we kept providing essential services during the pandemic, and since then have regrown ridership to pre-pandemic levels. Whoop, whoop, that's a big deal. We've built 2 green award-winning transit facilities in our service area. And most recently, SEAC helped us with a letter of support to leverage a RAISE grant, which is kind of a unicorn in the development industry because there's no local match. It's 100% dollars. And that is meant to provide covered bus parking, which will make buses last longer and be less costly to maintain and more fuel efficient. It was intended to expand our solar array so that we'll be absolutely net zero on our electrical use for our facility, and put in high-speed charging because we were gearing up to electrify our fleet. And in fact, 2 of our microtransit vehicles are fully electric, and we've been charging them off-site at GMP and using lower voltage charging on-site. Challenges, 1 minute, okay. We are not sure if our RAISE grant actually will come through, and if it does, if it will be for those environmentally friendly features that I mentioned. It might just be a roof to get the buses under if we get the money at all. We're having some challenges with those electric vans that I mentioned. Because they're parked outside and they're charging outside, the batteries aren't making it through a full shift. So we've had to either use cutaways in place of them or swap them out on really cold days. And staffing, that everyone is saying that we need more volunteer drivers to help keep the Dial-A-Ride program capacity up and to keep those rides free. And if you'd like to work with me, talk to me about unmet need in your social groups. Learn more about the service, ride the buses, right? The more people who ride it, the more leverage we have to draw down federal funding and help be ambassadors by learning the service and telling people about it. And spread the word that volunteer driving is a super cool way to spend your time. It's very rewarding. We have a volunteer driver sitting next to me. There's one in the audience right there. I'm sure they'd be happy to answer your questions about what that commitment entails. But basically, am I done? Yeah. Basically, I'm done.
Very, very graceful. So, a final panelist in the first half here is Laura Asermely of the Walk Bike Council. She formed the Walk Bike Council of Addison County in 2016, along with Regional Planning Commission and others, in response to increased bike fatalities. This citizen-led advisory group monitors infrastructure, road repaving, sidewalk connectivity, and bus stop projects, promotes safe routes to school efforts, and created the 40-mile triangle bike loop connecting the hub towns of Middlebury, Bristol, and Virgins. Laura?
Well, that was the achievement. No, I'm happy to represent the Walk Bike Council of Addison County. I'm really stumping for transportation transformation. I think we're so well positioned in Middlebury and Addison County to do that. And the Walk Bike Council is part of that. So as Spence said, and you can see here, we formed in 2016 in response to increased bike fatalities that we were seeing in the county, including the death of Middlebury College's Kelly Bowe in 2015, for which a commemorative ride was held for several years in May, which we call Bike Month. So that formed the council. So we tried to just pull in people from the hub towns, especially Virgins, Bristol, Middlebury, New Haven, to represent the council and say, okay, what next? So what next is on the next slide. And as Spence said, we're really trying to monitor infrastructure and change the habits of our towns to be car-centric, to more bike and pedestrian-centric. And it's really hard because we're addicted to speed. And motors come first, and emergency vehicles come first. So from a bike ped perspective, given that reality and limited geography of our roads, the least we can do is pay attention to our shoulders. And as you see here, here's a shoulder that's got clutter around its storm drain, and they're never wide enough, the shoulders. We would love them to be wider, striped wider. We would love them to be maintained, even if they're not wide, like swept, like now, and plowed, when we have weather events. So we do work with town crews to just encourage that and celebrate it when they do it. And they want to do it. They just have so many projects in front of them. And the roads come first before the shoulders and the sidewalks. So anyway, we encourage what we call road diets, and you can see in the picture on the side that that's a project that happened in Lincoln where they took out the double lane and they made the shoulders wider with that broken line that you can see in the picture to create a tighter travel lane for the cars, but still enough for emergency vehicles to get through, and now enough space or a little bit more girth for dog walkers, getting your mail, riding your bike. So The problem with that is it's not standardized yet. So actually, that's the work to do, is to really hope for more of those kinds of road diet projects. Or at least, even if you have the double lane, to tighten the travel lane and make the shoulders a little bit wider. So we work on that. And you can see me leading this little ride. This is a shoulder and butt off on Rogers Road, which got some speed bumps over the past year to try to calm traffic and slow it down, and they work, except they're hard. They're hard to keep as permanent solution because you got to plow over them, so we had to remove them. Anyway, our biggest achievement was the triangle bike loop, which you can see on the previous slide. Okay, so that's a 40-mile loop that connects the hub towns. And the reason that's so important is because we really worked hard to identify what would be the best traveling route for commuters. And those are the shoulders and the roads we really want to be monitoring. Okay, and then finally, well, yeah, we are all about helping low and moderate income. It's affordable to ride a bike. We see a trend toward families going to one car and supplementing with a cargo bike or an electric assist bike. I'm seeing more and more that you are seeing more and more of that. And what we want is for you to drive less alone and slow down. All of us for a safer town.
Thank you, Laura. Well, what a disciplined group this is. They finished right on time, so let's give them all a round of applause. So we've scheduled in a 10-minute break. Okay, I think we're all lined up here. And we're going to start with you, Shannon. So Shannon Bryant is Director of the Energy Navigator Program with the Climate Economy Action Center, or CEAC. As an educator, craftsperson, and community builder, Shannon's work is centered on relationship building, place-based storytelling, and value-adding actions that lead to climate-positive future for all of us. Shannon, tell us about your program.
Okay, I might be the only one to get kicked off for time. So I'd like to start out with a framework, which is what's the additive role that your organization plays, and how does your organization contribute to the greater good? How do all these sectors connect together and into the larger system, and how do we collaborate to realize that the latent potential? So that's the framework, so buckle up because I have 14 slides. So Energy Navigators grew out of CEAC's Climate Action Plan for Addison County, and also out of the greenhouse gas emissions reports that CEAC has been doing. It showed that the biggest contributors, which we all know this, were agriculture, transportation, and buildings. So then what CEAC was left with is, how do we actually start to do some action on these things? So Energy Navigators was designed, and we looked at these actions up on the slide here. This is how we were wanting to plug in for residential homes. And any of these actions here reduce someone's greenhouse gas emissions. So this is what we realized after some research, that the process is completely overwhelming, right? Some of the vocabulary is confusing. The processes are long. It's hard to understand. So we were like, well, that means someone has to help navigate, like what Melanie was talking about. How do we support homeowners and renters to take an action that reduces their greenhouse gases? So, next slide, please. So we launched Energy Navigators. That's a quick one. Next one. Okay. And when we launched Energy Navigators, we had two approaches. One was to have an interactive website where people could go on there and do their own research and track their own actions, right? And then, but what about the people that needed us to visit? So we came up with the navigation process. It's a simple process. It's call us, schedule a visit, we come, we visit with you, and then we give you a report at the end of that visit with suggested next steps. But then we follow your progress and we support you throughout the entire project, okay? The projects, okay? So we'll sit down at people's kitchen tables and get us an understanding of the home as a whole system, okay? And then we connect people. Oh, could you just go back real quick, Richard? Then we connect people to what are the resources? So contractors, what the rebates are for their particular income bracket, and who's helping them do that work. What things do they have to fill out, et cetera, et cetera. Next. Next. And what we found is talking about climate change is not doing it for people, okay? Particularly low to moderate income. And I'm not gonna say it's a monolith, okay? But what we are finding is that where our success is when we talk about reducing cost, increasing comfort, and increasing their own control over their energy usage, okay? What it takes, like when they have a power outage, okay? It doesn't mean that climate and community don't play a role in their motivation, but this is what we found success. Okay, yep, next. So, some of our successes. We've done 50 plus navigations, 50% of those are LMI. We've done educational workshops with Veep, which have been very helpful, and we are working on a training program to have volunteer energy navigators. Wow, that was quick. Okay, wait, no, you missed one. You missed there. So many obstacles though. We all know workforce shortages, right? Availability of trained contractors that don't just want to do it like their grandfather did it, okay? The uncertainty about how much are these things gonna cost, like with the tariffs. You know, I've already heard this, right? Where are the rebates going, okay? I'm not gonna get into a loan if I can't get a rebate, all right? Next. How do we collaborate? How do all of us collaborate? We find local champions in various towns that has helped us. And then educational outreach, partnering, getting the word out for each other, all right? And then some larger employer engagement has helped us as well. Next. Okay, so 30 seconds. See, I knew I was gonna get in trouble here. So just coordinating outreach when it makes sense. All right, partnering with educational outreach like we've done with Veep, and inviting each other to each other's events, and finding what is our role and then what is the synergy there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Brought that up quickly. So we're moving on to CBOEO, and Mark is going to do the introduction.
I'm going to start. My name is Mark Demers. I'm the director at Addison Community Action, a program of CBOEO, anti-poverty program since 1965. And I want to simply acknowledge the staff that I work with, who works with Crisis Fuel, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, Financial Futures, Housing Advocacy. How you can help us? In the back, there's a blue folder, and in front of that folder is this piece of paper. We really would love it if you would take a picture of this QR code and do our community needs assessment, which we're required to do every 3 years. I yield the rest of my time, Mr. Chairman, to Dwight DeCoster, who is the director of our weatherization program.
Thank you, Mark. As Mark said, my name is Dwight DeCoster. I am the director of Champlain Valley Office of Economic Opportunities, CBOEO's weatherization program. I've been there 9 years, and it took 8 of them to rattle that acronym and that name off as eloquently as I did. You've heard this term already from Melanie, but the Vermont Low-Income Weatherization Assistance Program creates warmer, safer, healthier, and more energy-efficient homes. Weatherization is an anti-poverty program that's been around for 43 years, and that puts money saved via energy efficiency back into the pockets of low-income Vermonters to afford other things such as medicine, food, and keeping their homes. I hang my hat on the aging in place portion that we do by making homes warmer, safer, healthier. Our achievements are, in the past year, we are one of 5 aging community action agencies across Vermont that do this work. Last year, we did 1,221 homes across the state of Vermont. Our other big achievement is that, in my mind, is that for low-income Vermonters, which is 80% of area median income, or 200% of the federal poverty limit. And yes, I'm talking fast because I molded this down from an hour-and-a-half presentation to energy committees and such. So if you want to help us, that's a collaborative way. I can come out to your energy committee and talk at any time. I love to talk about the program. Another one of our achievements is that if you qualify for our program, it is 100% free to the client. We come in their house, we do an average of $15,866 with our own money that is free to the client, no cost. You all pay for it on your bill. I'll tell you how in a minute. The second thing is that we're able to leverage a great deal of funds from other folks around the state. So our funding is 50. Up until COVID, our funding used to be 85% state of Vermont for the HWAP tax on the bill and 15% DOE, Department of Energy funding. That is flipped, which, as you'll see in my challenges, that's a good thing and a bad thing. We are now at 52% in-state funding, 48% federal funding. Every one of the last 4 presidents, including the one now, has given infrastructure bills that we, ARPA bill, IRA, and so we are now 48% federal. So we also bring in other grants for Vermiculite Trust, private grant organizations such as Argosy. We are a great partner. We have 2 great partners in Vermont Gas and Efficiency Vermont that allow us to do the electrical work, as well as Vermont Gas pays for some of our work. We've been redoing our agreement. We're very close. They're going to step up with a lot more money from Vermont Gas. I mentioned our clients. Our clients are prioritized by, if they're on fuel assistance, their household income of less than 60% of SMI, which is the DOE eligibility level. If they have high energy use, if there's elderly in the home, and if there's family members that are disabled in the home as well. We add those up. You got a minute? Yeah, great. I'm on my challenges slide. So, some challenges that we see are deferred maintenance issues. We mentioned vermiculite. The average vermiculite abatement cost has gone up from about $6,000 pre-COVID to over $20,000 now. Vermiculite is an asbestos-containing material that the salesman in Vermont was superior. They got vermiculite into, Melanie's shaking her head, they got it into so many houses, and we have to abate it before we can do our work. Leaking roofs, crumbling foundations, moisture problems, both bulk and inhabited caused, knob and tube or unsafe wiring, non-functioning or unsafe heat, hot water. Funding to take care of these issues prior to being able to weather. Now we're going to say all of our funding. We are nervous because we are considered the green sham. We have 42 years of history that says we are not a sham. Sorry, I got political. Other factors are that we have a limited workforce, and we are strictly word of mouth in our territory, and we have a long waiting list that can be up to 2 years for a lot of folks, and if you're a low priority level, even longer. Our agreement with Vermont Gas should help us lower that even more over the next few years, but we don't have enough workers either.
All right, thank you. So, pardon me. We'll move on to 350 Vermont. Roger White is a member of 350 Vermont's Communications Working Group and acts as a coordinator for the 350 Vermont Addison County Group. He currently teaches in the studio art department at Middlebury College.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm going to talk a little bit about 350 Vermont, which I'm sure many of you are aware of, and I'll talk about what the group is up to now at the state level and what we're doing locally. 350 Vermont is a people-powered and people-led movement for climate justice, and the organization has a small staff based in Burlington and a big network of volunteers that work all over the state. Volunteers like myself are organized into nodes in the parlance of 350, which are local groups that work for climate justice in our communities and participate in statewide campaigns and actions. Many volunteers also work on statewide teams that are working groups devoted to particular topics, such as transportation, weatherization, electricity, or communications, which is what I do, where we strategize about raising awareness around climate justice issues all the time. So those are the two main ways to participate. Generally, the 350 Vermont's emphasis has been on low emissions energy solutions for Vermont that are equitable, affordable, and most importantly, legitimate, meaning that they actually do help us with our runaway greenhouse gas emissions problem. These include things like thermal energy networks and community solar. We're also involved in campaigns against large-scale biomass, like the expansion of the McNeil facility in Burlington and a proposed new biomass plant in Lindenville. This year, the organization has three main areas of focus. First is community weatherization. The recently formed statewide weatherization team has been trying to organize 350 Vermont nodes to support existing weatherization programs like that one through hands-on work parties, which volunteers come and sort of sometimes do preliminary work to make weatherization possible in people's homes, and also raising awareness and knowledge about the role of weatherization as a climate solution, and particularly an equitable climate solution, which together with things like electricity ratepayer protection makes the transition away from fossil fuels much more equitable, particularly for low-income Vermonters. Second focus is on legislative action. This year, the Scott administration has proposed many cuts to aspects of the Global Warming Solutions Act, which ensures that the state is accountable for meeting its proposed climate goals. So the idea is to make the state less accountable to those goals. The administration is also seeking more influence over the State Climate Council by resizing it and trying to allow for more administration-appointed seats on it. So we're working to make sure that these changes don't happen by helping concerned citizens communicate with their legislators. I would say that one of the challenges that we face is the sort of new legislative environment around the country and in the state. The third area of focus this year is solidarity. Part of 350 Vermont's mission is to address the fact that our most vulnerable populations often bear the largest brunt of the climate crisis. So a lot of the work this year has been done in conjunction with the group Migrant Justice, which champions the rights of migrant workers and communities in Vermont. And 350 Vermont is supporting a bill called number H169, which eliminates roadblocks to housing for migrant families. The Addison County Node, the local group, which there are many active members present here tonight, has generally had a legislative focus. We've had meetings with many of our senators and representatives over the years. Much of this was done to solicit support for reform of the state's renewable energy standard, which did pass last year. We also arranged information sessions around different issues, such as renewable energy policy and biomass and combustible fuels in Vermont. Our current goal is to increase participation in a public hearing on the Addison natural gas pipeline on March 27th. So you can talk to me about if you're interested in submitting comments on issues regarding transparency and permitting of the pipeline. We generally meet every 2 weeks on Zoom on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. And the node functions, I would say, like a meeting place for people who often wear many different hats in climate work, which is also a challenge because people are so busy doing very good work in other ways that sometimes the node attendance is variable. Because of this, we often think in terms of supporting and amplifying ongoing actions by other groups rather than mounting a new campaign, though if we have an influx of people, that's something we could certainly do. If you want to get involved, please talk to me or sign an email list over on the table there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll move on to Tom Perry from Zero Energy Now. Tom is a former residential design, build, and weatherization contractor, is the technical director of Zero Energy Now, a nonprofit program designed to get existing homes off fossil fuel. Tom?
Yeah, the slides are, they're not projected.
No, it's okay. this problem earlier.
Well, yeah. You know, I know too.
Go over close to him. See if I can look over his shoulder.
This problem. I need to work on this for a minute. Can you talk about this without your notes?
Sure. Okay, might as well take up a little time here. My name is Tom Perry. The Zero Energy Now program has been around for about 5 years, off and on, in a very low-key way. We were started by the Building Performance Professionals Association, which was a trade association for weatherization contractors, mostly working with Efficiency Vermont through their home performance energy program. And the main goal of our program is essentially to get homes off of fossil fuel and to do it as affordably as possible. And I'm wondering, do we have slides now?
For the moment we do.
Okay. You want to just turn it around and I can do it from here? I just need to read my script, that's my problem. Just to jump right in here, because I have quite a few slides. As you may know, the state of Vermont has a goal of being 90% renewable by 2050. And we talk about it a lot, but little has been said about how we can really do it, especially in existing homes.
Who's the arrow?
Oh, okay.
Right arrow.
Right arrow, yeah. Okay, great. What we've heard a lot of is this, and what we need to hear a lot more of is this. In fact, to meet our 2050 goal, this is what has to happen. Every home has to get off of fossil fuel as much as possible, and they have to embrace renewable energy. And if it's going to be done, I'm thinking of low-income people here, it has to be affordable. Zero Energy Now is a nonprofit program designed for any homeowner of any income to do just that. By taking these 3 essential steps, weatherization, which increases the efficiency of the home and the envelope, changing out old fossil fuel equipment for heat pumps, or in some cases biomass, increases the efficiency of the heating equipment, and finally, installing renewable energy, usually a solar array, or buying into a community solar array, if that ever becomes available again, reduces fossil fuel use and energy costs to 0 or near 0. We create this energy profile for each Zero Energy Now customer. On the left is the home's current energy use. On the right is what the Zen project will achieve. The 3 graphs on each side show energy use, energy costs, and carbon emissions. We're trying to minimize all of them. The black on the left represents fossil fuel dollars, and fossil-related carbon emissions. The red on the left is electricity purchased from Green Mountain Power. In addition to the cost of the power in the middle graph, you see utility fees in purple. On the right, all the grid-sourced electricity and most of the fossil fuel has been replaced by renewable electricity, shown in green and by biomass in gold. The biomass reflects 1 cord of wood burned in a wood stove installed as part of the SEN project. This is what the house looks like, a rather unassuming raised ranch with some very unusual performance numbers. The fourth element of the SEN project that we watch closely is the project cost and the financing needs of the homeowner. Mostly, we're looking for energy savings that will free up funds to help pay for financing the project. Incentives and tax credits are also an important part of the picture. Notice the energy credit in the green on the right-hand graph. The community solar shares this homeowner purchased produce 1,800 kilowatt hours more than the house uses, enough to power her electric car, the average 7,000 miles per year that she drives. Here are some more examples. Note the overall monthly savings of the SEN project, and that includes financing the cost of the project. Here's another. And one more, again with savings. These are not uncommon numbers. 2 things in particular make SEN work. The SEN coordinator and/or contractor has the knowledge to match program options to the house and also has the flexibility to work with homeowners' capacities and priorities. That means doing all of those things that people need to get over the hurdles and challenges of doing a project like this.
Tom, can you do one more?
And the program's design tool, Clear, which optimizes every element of the project, work scope, equipment choices, available incentives, and financing. These all work together to increase the return on investment and to drive down costs. Each home is unique, and the program customizes to the home and to the homeowner who has unique needs. Here's some more of the houses on which SEN projects were completed. And finally, here's how to connect with us.
All right, thank you, Tom. All right, now we are going to go on to the Vermont Community Thermal Energy Networks. Unfortunately, Debbie New, who was supposed to present today, was unable because of illness. So John Barstow is going to talk briefly about the program.
Thank you, Spence, for that illustrious introduction. I know that the way this curse of a good presentation is to apologize, but I need to. I'm on the volunteer Middlebury Thermal Energy Network Working Group, 3 other members of which are here, and you'll want to talk to them. But I want to just get across that thermal energy networks are, well, writ large. They are like water and sewer systems. They can be municipality-wide. There's upfront infrastructure cost, but they make extraordinarily efficient use of wasted heat that just goes into the atmosphere, some ground source heat to maintain a steady temperature, but it's not geothermal per se, and all the pipes necessary to move this 50-something degree water around to heat and cool large and small buildings with ground source heat pumps. Now, Debbie New, who basically is the Vermont Community Thermal Network's executive director and everything else, is focusing on certain towns in Vermont, Middlebury among them. I have become convinced that, well, it may be tough to get towns to commit to this kind of infrastructure. It is the most sustainable, long-term, least expensive way to decarbonize in a very thorough way and use waste heat, which is another huge energy waste. This working group is focusing on three, here come nodes again, 350, and geographic nodes within the town of Middlebury. One, the so-called industrial park, which really is an industrial park, but you know where it is. Northern boundary is the wastewater treatment system, huge waste heat, and southern, roughly, Cabot, and maybe even farther south. The other node is Washington Street area, and the third is kind of a micro node, which is the town offices and the just started yesterday construction of the entirely redone Ilsley Library, which is using, I believe they committed to geothermal, and that ought to be able to be shared. One other point, these networks can be incremental. You can start a node, and so long as you build it so it can connect to others, it doesn't all have to happen at once. I'm going to focus briefly on the Washington Street location because it has, to me, the most obvious potential. Everyone who's been around this for long knows that supermarkets are big. All the refrigeration and freezing, a lot of wasted heat. Middlebury Food Co-op, Shaw's, and some other really great sources of waste heat. The hockey rink, Mary Hogan. Those are the biggies in that general area. Well, the courthouse, yes and no. It needs to be heated in a different way than it has been heated, and they're looking to redo it. But the advantage of the courthouse is we do have interest from the state level buildings and facilities department in investigating this for state-owned properties. And so that, there's a good deal of potential in this Washington Street area, and there is some affordable housing in close proximity, which could really use the heating and cooling, and decarbonized and much less expensive.
1 minute, John.
God, time flies. I mentioned incremental. There are a lot of different ways to do this. It can be municipally owned and operated. Think, okay, we do water, we do sewer, we're gonna do heat and cooling. It's a big leap, but it's being done in towns of comparable size. New York State actually has statewide legislation encouraging this technology. And by the way, it's very low tech. It's not high tech at all. It's proven, it's water lines, and it's just, that's one of the reasons it's so sustainable. And the technology's not gonna change in two minutes. It really works. Other towns in Vermont are considering it. We have extremely good support from the Community Decarbonization Partners, which is based in New York and gives us a lot of great knowledge about how this is done. And I would just encourage you to talk with my three working group colleagues, Sally Burrell, stand up please, Susan Smiley, and Camille, who is working with us from the Addison County Regional Planning Commission. And that's it. But really, this is an extraordinary opportunity. It is the future of decarbonization.
Thank you, John. And so we'll move on to window dressers. Allison Pouliot joined Window Dressers in 2023 as program manager for Vermont and Western New Hampshire. She previously worked in the aerospace industry for over 30 years, holding positions of leadership in manufacturing, engineering, program management, and quality. Allison, tell about your program.
Good evening, thank you. So what is Window Dressers? Window Dressers, our mission is to bring community volunteers of all economic and social situations together to improve the warmth and comfort of interior spaces, lower heating costs, and reduce carbon dioxide pollution. You might ask, how do we do that? So we do that by producing low-cost insulating window inserts that function as custom interior mounted storm windows. And I have a sample on the back if you want to look at it after. And another big part of our mission is that 25 to 35% of the inserts that we build each year go to low-income houses for either free or for whatever they can pay. A little bit about window dressers. Can you go forward two slides, please? Thank you. We were established in Rockland, Maine, at a UU church in 2010 when some parishioners wanted to increase the comfort of their sanctuary, so they built 185 inserts that year for their church and for their neighbors. We fast forward to 2018, the first year that window dressers was introduced in Vermont. It was introduced in Glover, Vermont, and they built 164 inserts. And we fast forward to 2024 when in Vermont we had 21 community builds throughout the state. We were able to help 750 households and build 4,652 inserts. The biggest challenge that we face in reaching low and moderate income individuals is one, gaining the trust of participants. As part of our program, the inserts are specifically built for each window, so people need to go into homes, measure. So, gaining the trust of the participants is very important, and we've found that the easiest and the best way to do that is to develop partnerships with trusted individuals in the towns, so that people, they see a face that they recognize, and then they believe that the program is legit. One of the other issues that we have is follow through after the identification of a need. Sometimes it's hard to, reach people on the phone, to set up an appointment to come measure. So that's those are some of our biggest challenges. And then another challenge, obviously, is to have volunteers who are willing to run the program. The program is solely run by volunteers. We have 5 staff people who work for window dressers, but we provide, the training and all the infrastructure for the community builds, but they're done by volunteers in each of the communities. Our greatest achievement related to climate efforts to date, since Window Dressers was established in 2010, we've built over 78,000 inserts for communities in Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire. And we estimate that we've saved the following 3.9 million gallons of heating oil and an equivalent of 44,413 tons of CO2. And those numbers are based on an estimate that we use based on a UMaine professor who has established a savings model. And how can you all help? So we can only provide our program in communities where a volunteer leadership team forms to organize and conduct a community build. The Middlebury Rotary Club has graciously hosted community builds in 2022 and 2024, but they're unable to do so in 2025. So we are looking to get volunteers to take on this project so that we can continue to serve Addison County households.
Thank you, Allison. And finally, we are going to Addison County Regional Planning, and Julian Larson is an energy planner at the Addison County Regional Planning Commission. He has a master's in energy policy and a PhD in natural resources. He is interested in socially and environmentally just governance and will be representing several of RPC's initiatives today.
Hi, folks. So I'm in a really wonderful and terrible situation in that the RPC does a lot of work with a variety of policy sectors to pursue equity targets. And so selecting any one type of sector to talk to y'all about today is somewhat of a challenge. I'm going to discuss who we are as an organization, my role within that organization, some of the successes and challenges that we have, as well as some of the opportunities that we pursue with other organizations in our community. So who are we? The Addison County Regional Planning Commission is a quasi-municipal body that was formed through a network of municipalities in our region to essentially function as a regional capacity builder. We want to essentially help others do the good work in their community and find ways to support them. Who am I? I am an energy planner, as alluded to in my bio, and that is my primary focus in this question is how can I assist our partner municipalities within the region with the various energy-related topics that they're pursuing. In the process of us doing that, we liaise upward with the state government. We also interact with other regional planning commissions to support inter-regional planning, municipalities within our region, as well as non-governmental organizations like the majority of groups that we worked with here tonight, or rather are presenting with here tonight. In terms of what we do, I have a variety of policy sectors listed up there that we play a role in some capacity. Land use and conservation, transportation, housing, communal health, energy, environment, and economic development. And in all of these sectors, some element considers burden or impact on low and moderate income Vermonters. I tend to think, rather than going into the depth of each of those policy sectors, I think I'd like to highlight what it is I think we do within them, which is we don't necessarily set the agenda, and we don't always, and in fact rarely, legitimate a policy. We don't make a decision per se. We help to formulate solutions. So if a municipality or a non-governmental organization comes to us with a problem, we're going to help them problem solve, whether that's providing advice, whether that's helping with technical assistance if they're navigating a grant program, or whether that's being an advocate. One of the responsibilities of the RPC, for example, is to participate with another large statewide organization called BAPTA, which is all of the RPCs in the state that then lobby the state government to pursue various regional needs for us. In terms of achievements, for example, earlier, the ACORN Internet Service Provider was mentioned, and the RPC helped to stand up that organization, which pushes internet service provision out to areas that otherwise previously did not have access to that. We also, I was grateful to see representation from Tri-Valley Transit as well, another organization that the RPC contributes to significantly. We have recently received health equity grants, which will help us to pursue solutions, different communal health solutions, in particular within low-income communities in the region. We regularly participate in water quality work, contracting with individuals to help reduce phosphorus and nitrogen loading into our water systems in the region. With regard to transportation, in addition to Tri-Valley, we also do quite a bit of work with the Walk Bike Ped Council organization. And returning to my particular focus on the energy side of things, I'm very passionate about energy and environmental justice, and I like to think about how our burdened communities can have an easier time by being more intentional with our policy development. Thinking about how that manifests within my work, for example, the Municipal Energy Resilience Program that was created by Building and Government Services was targeted to steer funds into energy retrofits of municipal buildings, in particular in communities that had higher energy burden scores, to reduce the municipal tax burden in those areas that is due to energy costs. Thank you. We have regional and municipal energy planning capacity, which we conduct that features energy burden considerations. I'm also participating with the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, which focuses heavily on both reaching communities that are on the front line of climate change conversations that are typically often less empowered and often low-income communities as well. Then thinking about our biggest challenge, we don't make laws, we don't levy taxes, and we don't have an enforcement capacity. Essentially, we're like a public think tank for this community. And so we're very reliant actually on y'all coming to us with how we can help you. Now, that's a problem, but it's also an opportunity. My request to y'all is help us to set the agenda. Come to us with the problems that you need solutions for, and we have a planner whose job it is, in all likelihood, to work on those particular problems. I'll leave it short and sweet, sort of, like that, and say you have my email. You have my email listed up there, as well as the website for the RPC, in which other planners' contact information can be found. And if you have a problem in our backyard, send us an email and we'll see what we can do to help y'all out. Thanks.
Great, thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause. Steve, are you planning to wrap up, or?
No, I'm just going to
Okay.
Q&A.
Okay, so we have just about 10 or 15 minutes for any questions you may have, and some of the other presenters are no longer with us, I guess, or you can ask a general question. So does anyone? Yes.
Thank you. My name is Paul Stone. I'm a farmer. We have a family farm. My wife is here in Orwell. We started out milking cows 48 years ago, and we switched over to growing turkeys, which we do today. So, Richard, can you leave that slide up there? Can you make it any bigger? I'd like to comment on that. But first of all, thank all the presenters. But I find it curious that there's nobody really here talking about energy efficiency on farms. And that's a huge issue in Addison County. Now, if you look at that slide, the orange is supposedly greenhouse gases from agriculture. And it shows there, I don't know what the percent is, but I think on 2022, it's around 38%. Nationwide, it's about 9 or 10%, just to put it in perspective. So the reason it's so high in Addison County is because of our concentration of farms, especially dairy farms and beef farms and goat farms. And so I think I don't really have a question. I just want to have it in perspective that the reason that it's so high is because of our concentration of agriculture, which is very obviously economically important for Addison County. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. Anyone else have a question or observation? Yes. Greg.
Well, since you opened it up for observations, I'm Greg Dennis. I was formerly a SEAC board member, and I've been quite active with 350 Vermont. Thanks for being here. Shout out to 350 Vermont. My observation is that climate efforts in Vermont are under attack. One of our three major parties doesn't want to do much on climate. Our governor doesn't want to do much on climate. He's actually attacking our legislation, the renewable energy standard, which will clean up our energy grid even further. And if you're at all inclined to be involved, please pay attention to what's happening in Montpelier. And if you're at all inclined to vote for our current governor next time around, and he'll probably run again, I hope you'll take a look at his climate record because it's terrible.
All right, any other questions or, yes, Betsy.
Yeah, Betsy Taylor from New Haven. First of all, this was really magnificent. Thank you so much for this incredible presentation. It was just super helpful. So let's do it again, one round of applause. And to build on what Greg just said, of course, we all know, and we heard from you, that we also have a federal administration that is doing everything that's powered to advance fossil fuels and block clean energy and block regenerative agriculture, nature-based climate solutions. So I'm curious if there's any planning going on among you or within your groups about how you replace that federal funding. This is happening across the country. lots of groups are in crisis. And I'm just wondering, you know, there's probably not an easy answer to this, but it is something that we need to be looking at pretty aggressively and together. So I don't know if anybody would want to comment, probably everybody. I heard it coming from you. I heard it coming from several of you that this was a fear. You don't know if your grants are coming through, whether that's transportation or weatherization. So I don't know who might want to comment, but again, thank you.
Who has the silver bullet?
We need more generous, progressive billionaires.
A very small note. I favor the idea of a cap and invest policy. That has been something that has been suggested, studied, examined at the state level somewhat here in Vermont, in which it's similar to a cap and trade program whereby a limit is placed on greenhouse gas emissions, but then using the revenue from the cap and trading of those carbon credits, one can use those funds to pursue additional climate action. So just one small tool that's been pitched. It's, you know, not exactly a slam dunk in terms of you can't trade or cap carbon if it's still around. So it is sort of reliant upon that waste still being produced, at least in the short run. But that's why the invest side is so important, is that ideally over time, with the funding source, we can ultimately end up putting that into solutions that reduce carbon. I also personally have favored the idea of some sort of carbon tax mechanism, although I have reservations about how to apply that in an equitable way. But those are two tools that could be used at the state level if they were pursued to generate revenue for climate action goals beyond a federal source.
Yes, John.
So if you go to the IPCC's most recent report, they have estimated reductions in carbon production have to be met in order to prevent global temperature increase from going up to 2 degrees Fahrenheit. And roughly it's about 15% up to, I think, 2030. If we don't reduce carbon output by 15%, by then it almost doubles. In other words, that would be if we miss that cutoff, then it gets really much harder. If you go to the U.S. Energy Information Administration's energy consumption website and look at the projections for energy used in the U.S. and greenhouse gas production in the U.S., it's not changing at all out to 2050, period.
Well, Richard showed us that it's not changing in Addison County either. We got time maybe for one more comment, like a friend.
Any topic. Okay, I don't have a solution for the federal problem, I'm sorry.
We need to be talking together.
Right. But what I wanted to say is that we've heard from 14 groups. Their presentations were excellent. Do you have plans, the SEAC have plans, or anyone have plans to get this group together, all of you informally, not to speak to us, but to talk to each other about where there's overlap, how you can help each other to reach low and middle income people? That has been on the Waybridge Energy Committee. That was our hardest job, is how to try to reach people who aren't on front porch forum or who don't necessarily come to town meeting. So I would love to see communication together for this group of people and to help each other to reach the group of people that you'd like to meet. So I'm wondering if people have ideas on how to do that.
There are many of us that are already working together. NeighborWorks works with us. There are many of us that are already working together. NeighborWorks works with weatherization. Shannon and I have started a conversation. May not always agree, but if we start 350 Vermont and which trip is it? Williston. We are starting to work with 350 for volunteers to help us with our project, so make that more accessible. Like I said, any energy committee in Franklin, Grand Isle, Addison, Chittenden County that want to talk to me, I'll more than gladly talk your ear off. And but there's already a lot of communication in I think 5 or 6 of the groups, so that's already started. But we'd love to speak to whoever wants to.
You got something on this, Barbie?
Coming through, sorry. This is related a little bit to the atmosphere that we're working in with the change in administration in Washington and what's happened in the legislature here. I was listening to the program on WDEV this morning. I don't know how many other people heard it, with an energy expert from Massachusetts talking about their clean heat standards and ours and everything like that. And what comes through over and over, almost every sentence, they are branding everything that we're working on as opposed to common sense and what the average person wants. And we started to get to it with, what they want is more comfort and control over their energy and things like that. And a lot of these technologies will help with that. But I think we have to figure out how to take all of the well thought out programs that you have that are common sense within the little context of the problem that each of you is working on, and change the overall understanding of what this battle is, because it's not common sense to keep doing what we're doing, business as usual. But the people who are fighting the clean heat standards are saying everything that is being proposed to meet those, and they always use the word mandates, is violating the average person's sense of common sense. And the role of government in Washington now seems to be to take as many options off the table as possible so that the violation of common sense becomes even greater in the average person's view. If Massachusetts can't get any energy from offshore windmills and things like that, well then the common sense response for how you move to more renewable energy gets a lot harder. So I think we've got to make, in all of your programs, a lot of publicity to the average person has to be how common sense it is to be moving in this direction.
You got an answer for that?
Maybe even just a response, less an answer. There was an excellent poll that was conducted of Vermonters and their priorities. I believe it was called Vermont Speaks, but they attempted to look at what the primary wants out of the electricity system Vermonters had. And while, I'll admit affordability and reliability were the two most supported ideas by Vermonters for their energy system, the third priority on that list was the environment and conservation, and it was right up there in terms of, I believe it was over 75% of respondents held that environment is either very important or important to them when it comes to their electricity supply. And to the extent that somehow people who care about the environment or climate are out of touch with Vermonters, if I could say, if we could keep our hope up, keep our heads up, and find a task to work on and do good work, we're not out of touch with Vermonters. We need to find ways to work with the rest of our community, yes, but Vermonters overwhelmingly do care about the environment and do care about climate when it comes to electricity. We need to find ways to work with them and focus less about finding ways to work against them. Because I think we're there. We have a population that does genuinely care about these issues, and finding ways to meet them, I think, is very important. But we're not out of touch.
Thank you. Well, today you've had an awful lot to absorb in a very short time, and actually the point of this was to try to get an overview of what is going on in Addison County and to help make the connections that we need to make to keep the momentum going. So we need to have further discussions like this, and hopefully this will encourage the people on the panel, both panels, to keep talking and to communicate with you. So thank you all for coming, and thank you for the panelists once again, and we'll see you on the demonstration floors, I guess.